And our next topic actually is, the biggest story that came out this week in the FGC is that EVO has been purchased by Sony Entertainment Group and RTS. So that was like some really big news that happened this week. And I didn't really know like who RTS was. Maybe you guys know, but Sony put out that, I'm reading off what they said here, is that they are an esports event management, brand and developer consulting, and gaming talent management company that has partnered with Sony to come in and actually purchase EVO. So this took a lot of people by surprise. We know since last year, since with COVID and the situations that surrounded EVO, it really didn't go down last year. So we were kind of expecting this year, were they going to come back? What were they going to do? But it seems like now they are coming back, and they announced August as being some dates in August will be in the time they're going to come back. But they're on a new ownership, and it said that the Cannon brothers, they're going to be in advisory tongue twister today for some reason roles. Still working with EVO. So how do you guys feel about this? What was your first reactions to it? How do you feel about it? Your thoughts that come to mind. Starting with you, Mr. Gaming Love.
When I first saw this, I feel like my first initial thought was like for a second it was like, oh man, EVO is going into like the big leagues now. But at the same time, I feel like I was like, okay, how's this going to work? And then I was like, well, does this mean that there's only going to be certain games played at EVO now? But then a lot of those questions and stuff were asked and answered on Twitter. I think I thought that like maybe this will be a good thing, because now I feel like it's like Sony is going to be like probably have most of the advertisements for EVO, that like I guess the ads that'll be run like when it's streamed and whatnot. Probably the equipment. I'm thinking that that's probably going to be a big thing. Like most of the monitors probably going to be like Sony monitors, I would assume now. A lot of the equipment's going to be Sony equipment. So I feel like it can be a good thing, especially depending, how much, monetary value Sony, drops off into this. I thought the same thing about the whole like, well, can you play like other games that aren't played on PlayStation at EVO now? But I did hear like that most of the games, I guess like people also asked a question about like Nintendo games. I think they're still going to be at EVO, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see what this entails, how this unfolds. I'm glad to hear like still the Cannon brothers, like I mean they've been a big part of EVO for a long time. They still have some type of role in EVO. Definitely came out of left field. Definitely didn't see this coming. But hopefully, this will just lead to some bigger and better things for EVO as a whole, and at the FGC as a whole. I mean, EVO is the biggest fighting game event ever. So, definitely them being able to like be over something like this is, I feel like, definitely a sign for something good to happen. Just depends on how they move from here on out. It could also mean things like maybe bigger payouts. Also rewards, like not just monetary, but like maybe equipment. Like I said, like Sony, like maybe some PlayStation prizes, PS5 prizes. I mean, that's just hypothetical, but that could possibly be a thing. Like whoever wins Steve-O might get a PS5, or exclusive PS5, or Sony content, monitors, and things of that such, things of that nature. So, like I said, this is interesting that Sony has decided to do this. And I think this will be a good move, and it could mean like a lot of deals later down the line. That could mean like maybe Sony might start doing tournaments outside of EVO, like they might host the Street Fighter tournament, they might host the Tekken tournament, something like that. But yeah, it's interesting to see. And I really want to know more details on this, just the ins and outs of it, because like I said, everybody's biggest concern was like, well, what does that mean for the Nintendo games? What does that mean for like Killer Instinct? Are we still going to be able to play these games at EVO? Because well, Killer Instinct, I don't even think it's been a big EVO game in like the past few years. So it's like if it is, it's like a side game. So there's really no other like Xbox exclusive fighting game, I don't think so, or Microsoft exclusive fighting game. So yeah, it's interesting, and I just want to see more on this as it develops.
So initially, when I heard that Sony had kind of purchased or acquired EVO, I was I was just kind of like, oh, okay. I mean, it's a big deal. I know it's a big deal. It is a big deal, but I think like the more than anything, it's kind of a fresh start, a clean slate for Evo after last year. So now they get their chance. They get a chance to kind of come back. They got a new powerful backer, and like Devin was saying before, there's kind of the promise of bigger and better things. The event might get a little bit bigger. The venue might change a little bit more. There might be the prizes might be a little bit more lucrative. There might be bigger payouts, better payouts. Might be more equipment based prizes and stuff. Like there could be a whole lot that comes into this acquisition. And one of the things that I think is really cool is that I think that having Sony do this, I mean, it's kind of it's like Rexon was saying this earlier, earlier before we started, was that it looks like they're kind of recognizing the potential of the FGC, and I definitely agree with that. It does feel like they're kind of like they're like saying, hey, we understand that you guys have potential, that EVO has potential, that the FGC in general has potential, and we're at this point now where we're willing to put money into you guys, to invest in you guys, to not only make a better event, but also make to make the FGC, kind of help the FGC grow a little bit, get a little bit more exposure, because then of course, that the FGC has been on ESPN before, we're already being streamed on Twitch and everything. And with Sony being attached to it, there's also that brand recognition. Like you go to the store and you want to buy a TV, and there's two TVs. There's a Samsung TV or there's a Hisense TV. Now they both might do the exact same thing. They might both have the same specs, but sometimes a lot more often you're going to be gravitating towards the Samsung because it has that brand recognition. Like Hisense is a Sharp TV, but if you don't know that name, you're going to kind of lean towards what you know. And everybody knows Sony. Sony is pretty much like PlayStations were pretty much what all of the fighting games of the past generation were all played on. Like we played everything pretty much on PS4. Street Fighter 5, Tekken 7, Soul Calibur 6, Samurai Showdown. There are games that like Samurai Showdown didn't even go to like the Xbox or whatever. So this is the console. It might be on like PC, but like we discussed before, like PCs are a decent way off from ever being like the standard for like a tournament use. But so anyway, back to the original point is that when I saw that they had acquired EVO, I think it's good. I think it's going to do a lot for EVO. I think it's going to do a decent amount for the FGC. I'm just kind of sitting here patiently waiting. I kind of want to see because they've already done some of the announcement for the games. They got Tekken 7 and Guilty Gear Strive. I think Mortal Kombat 11 and there's one more. What's the last game? Do you guys remember what the last game is?
It's Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter 5.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you, sir. Yeah, that's it. Street Fighter 5, Tekken 7, Guilty Gear Strive, and Mortal Kombat 11. So, you got a pretty decent lineup so far. Hopefully, we'll get to see some of the other games that maybe don't get as much play, because this is a good chance for like Sony to put a little bit more in, so all these other games might be able to get some spotlight as well, especially the games that were announced for EVO 2020 online last year that didn't get any, that they were like Killer Instinct and them fighting herds and stuff, and Skullgirls that didn't really get their time in the sun because of all the craziness that happened last year. So it would be nice to see those games kind of get center stage for a little bit, but we'll see what happens. I'm eager to see what they do with this chance and what the crew working in it do with this chance for the next EVO.
A lot of thoughts come to mind when talking about this EVO and Sony RTS acquiration Especially with seeing like a lot of different people's takes on it. I saw some people were saying like, oh, their dreams of an all PC Evo is shattered now. And I was like, I don't think that was ever gonna happen. But so then a lot of people started talking about the issue of just like, oh, this might affect grassroots, but then other people saying Evo was never really kind of grassroots. Then you have just so many other things people, are saying about it. A big company like Sony coming in and taking over something for the FGC. My first initial thought when I saw it, Devin had messaged us it because I was at work at the time, and I was just like, they did what? And my mind first goes to like kind of like what other people were thinking, like, man, how is Sony really gonna handle this? Because um, you can hear people say that like the people who they bought it from is coming in in advisory positions, but a lot of times, it reminded me of like when Disney bought Star Wars, and George Lucas was just like, hey, feel like you guys should do this and this and this and this and this and this, and they were like, okay, cool, we'll take the suggestions, and threw it up and like Kobe did into the trash can. So that's just my thoughts of just like when big corporations buy into smaller things, like will they really do as they say in their statement that they're gonna keep a hold to like the core of the fighting game community and stuff like that. Now they announced like the tournaments, the different games that was coming in August. E's already named them, and I forget which game it was. I think it was MK, the one that was going to be played on PC. So there's still games that are going to be played on PC. Now this is just originally we don't know what's going to happen in the future, what things are going to morph to in the future, but I don't think it would be a good look for them to just take everything away as far as like everything except PS5. Like I just don't think it'd be like a good look. But PS5, PlayStation is mostly played on all the like systems and stuff anyway. So who knows? We'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a good thing. What happened to Evo last year is kind of a situation of like, I'm pretty sure they knew they needed something to come back. A lot of people were probably thinking like, y'all just coming back y'all selves when we were kind of just like iffy on and just as well as there's people who were just like, we don't know about Evo now. There was people who were not wanting the good to suffer with the bad and just wanted it to come back as long as they could have got rid of that one problem. I know I'm speaking vaguely, but I'm sure everybody knows what I'm talking about if you're in the fighting game community. So, yeah, it's a lot of thoughts that come to mind. I mean, I'm happy for Evo as a brand that is able to live on and come back and is able to have a position where it can get its slate like kind of cleaned. It also speaks of like it shows that the FGC is worth investing into, and now that we'll have companies in it that is able to probably pay people decent wages and stuff that they would like, and things like that. So it definitely shows you like the future of what the FGC can be and where it's going. That if companies are willing to like invest more, not only will we make y'all games or how host your games, but we'll actually like run your tournaments, and we want to get into the tournament side of it too. So it lets you know that there's like a good economy that can be made within the FGC. So it's a lot of things that come to mind. But really, at the end of the day, we'll see what the future holds. Everything we say right now is just, our original thoughts from, it just happening. But, once August comes and we get past August and stuff like that, and we really start seeing people's actions rather than just their words, we'll know where we stand. So that's my, very, very all over the place answer. So,